Let's take you now to our very own JD Conte, who joins us here on the desk to give us the latest update here on water for the city of Trinidad.
Yeah, so this is a story we've been following for quite a while. There's been some controversy involved, some lawsuits, but today we're kind of just going to focus on the actual water that's kind of been behind everything that's been going on in the city of Trinidad. It's a small town of just about 800 people, but it's been a big story for everything that's been going on there. So earlier this week, I believe it was actually on July 1st, so a little bit earlier than that, TCEQ released two reports that they've done this year, earlier in the spring and early summer, on the water system there in Trinidad. And what they found was a couple of different things. The first report they did, they were looking in and they had some concerns about the chlorine levels in town, and then they came back a couple of weeks later, after those reports, after those concerns had been resolved, and while they were there for the first investigation, they had gotten more complaints from residents as kind of all of these big stories were happening, and they came back and they had some pretty big concerns as they we're going to put out at 6 o'clock tonight in this report. It's a couple pages long, and basically they came up with a bunch. I believe it was 4 total allegations. Basically, one of the big ones is that the city wasn't properly maintaining its water treatment plant. Some of the alarms and systems there. The other thing was that they failed to track chlorine levels. So when they did that first report, they were going to switch to a different kind of chlorine agent. So basically, they were going to go out and do this thing, and then TCU comes back and says, they're not actually going and tracking the amount of chlorine that's out there. So they weren't doing that. So the city has until August 3rd to come up with a plan on how they're going to address this. Now, obviously, the city has to figure out how they're going to do a lot of things. Obviously, we've been covering this in detail. The city, I believe it's between $9 and $12 million. Some citizens have actually come up with a plan on how they're going to fix these aging water lines. I don't remember how many miles it is off the top of my head, but there's miles and miles of pipe that's essentially going to have to be replaced.
Right.
The main issue isn't the water plant itself. It's the fact that the water's coming out clean and it's going through these pipes, and then it's just coming out dirty, as we've shown it again and again.
Yeah.
So it's some citizens have come together, and at the last city council meeting that we were at, they voted to create a water advisory committee. So the people that are going to be on the committee are going to be kind of going together, talking to engineers, talking to some local water people, and just kind of figuring out, okay, what can we do? And then they're going to go and bring that to city council and see, okay, what can we do? They'll present the plans, and then city council will either, approve, deny, and so we're still very early in the process. And like I said, the city has until August 3rd to come up with a plan to present to the TCQ and the state to basically say, okay, this is what we're going to do.